Joining me now is Mike the Truth Jackson, who will be in action next on October the 14th at Caged Aggression 36 when he takes on Pat Miletich in the main event. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's still like that's some silly shit. If I have to be honest with you, like this is the spectacle of all spectacles in my book. It's pretty crazy to hear you announce it like that.
Yeah, when I first heard of the matchup, I mean, I was surprised myself because this is your old coach, right? So I have to imagine there has to be some sort of fallout. Please tell me how we got to this point.
No, well, not really a coach. He's just been a great friend. Like we were friends for like 10 years, and we had worked together a few times. And he did corner me for the Punk fight, but again, that in itself was a spectacle, and it was one of those things because like going up against Duke Rufus and his team, and we had as we traveled for these legacy or LFA events, we would work together, work on some strategy and things like that. So I welcomed them on the team. Like I said, we were good friends for many years. But as far as how this came about, for me, I got in. I didn't really grow up really focusing on politics. Just from my upbringing, I came from a solid background where I didn't have to worry about certain things. And then fast forward as just I'm out in College Station. I remember when which is a very conservative town in Texas where I went to school, Texas A&M. Very conservative, very small population of Black people. I was there when Obama won, and I actually saw the shift in society and the culture from a political spectrum. And so fast forward, MMA is like a soup bowl of many different backgrounds and personalities and things like that. So for me to be in a training room with, you're going to be in a training room with anyone from someone who can possibly just got out of prison, works at fast food or a grocery store, all the way up to your professionals like doctors and lawyers, like all in the same training room, and everyone's going to have their own, political ideologies like that. But it's fighting, at the end of the day. And so when you're training, you're not worried about anything other than not letting this dude punch you in the face or to strangle you essentially. So I remember meeting Pat, many years ago, and it was at a time I believe he was even running for political office in Iowa. And so for me, I have friends of all different backgrounds, right? Given how I grew up. So for me, I was intrigued to pick his brain a little bit and to try to see where he came from. And there's also a time again where politics definitely isn't what it is, right now. This was like the early 2010s when we met. Um, so we're having a conversation. I understand he's a conservative, but he was definitely like the type you can have a realistic and a civil discourse and conversation with. We had dinner, these after weigh-in meals that we had, the team gets together and we spent a lot of time together. I mean, particularly at dinner, we're sitting next to each other, we're having conversations and discourse. And it was nothing was ever like he had never really said anything of flagrant, right? But you fast forward to this new MAGA era of politics, and this isn't the current state of the Republican Party isn't what it was, pre-Trump, right? And so I started visually seeing him go from like just a regular conservative type person with your ideologies to like this MAGA, this QAnon believing type of individual. And for me, like again, we can be difference of opinions, cool, but once you cross a certain line, like I we don't have anything to talk about anymore. So fast forward to roughly around this is like January 2021, right before COVID hit, and I could see well actually even when Trump kind of came around, we still had conversations, but I could like I said I could see he's starting to shift. And I was like I don't really think we can have real much civil discourse anymore. But fast forward to the COVID coming around, and I'm hearing what he's saying, China virus and all these things out of his mouth. Like, bro, like Like you're wilding right now. Particularly he's going like again, not even like entry level MAGA, like he's at QAnon level MAGA, which to me is like the crazy conspiracies. So January was probably the last time we spoke, and I forgot we had like a show maybe in like Minnesota, I want to say it was, and then we have like the lockdown. Don't hear much from him. Like we're not really following his social media much. But then out of nowhere, when the January 6th insurrection happens, he's posting pictures like he's there himself, and he's posting pictures with notable white nationalists, like notable guys throwing up the white power sign and the two percenters. And my belief and my ideology, like there's a line, there's anti-racism and racism. If you're on the fence, if you're just idly just watching, you're on the side of racism in my book. And now I know I call like people like Jake Shields and all these people I call Nazis in the Klan. They may not be having the hoods and stuff like that on, but if you're not anti-Klan, then in my book, you're a Klansman. So for me, whether you're just if you're hanging out with, you may not fully support them in any way, but if you're hanging out with Nazis in the Klan, you're pro Klan in my book. Like, there's no way I'm engaging with people who are white nationalists in such a manner. So he's posting these pictures on the social media, and I write a blog post on my website about his, because he does like this. So he posted pictures and all this, and I'm like, wow, because I'm watching all this in real time. I'm like, this is pretty wild that Pat's out there, but it's on brand for him and what he's doing. Fast forward, he makes a post saying he was fired from LFA because he went to the insurrection. So I make a post, or no, this is where I made that. I didn't make the post on the picture. I made the post on the video he made, and I was like, "Yo, Pat Miletich got fired for going to the Klan rally at the Capitol," and come to find out, he was never fired from going up there. What happens is LFA reaches out to him and says, "Hey, Pat, can you sit there?" Because it was that particular week they had an event wherever. I don't. At that time, I'm not shooting for them anymore, so I don't know where it was. Um, but they say, "Hey, Pat, can you sit this week out for going up to the Capitol?" In his mind, he formulated like, "Yo, LFA fired me." So he makes a video saying LFA fired him, which never happened, because when I make my video saying LFA fired him for going to the Klan rally, I get a call from Ed Soares. He's pretty pissed. He was like, "Mike, like, why would you say that? We didn't say that." And so he's the one who actually fills me in on him not being fired and was just told not to come that day. But Ed was mad that in the video, and again, I say things. I say I have a sense of humor, and I say things in jest. And so when I said they told him not to come because he went to the Klan rally, I actually put a press release in the video. But Ed Soares, who's also like, he's a MAGA, he's voted for Trump too, but he's one of the guys who's kind of like, I voted for him for money purposes, because Ed's a rich guy. So I get it, but he's not like pushing MAGA to people. So it is what it is, right? But having a conversation with Ed, I tell him, I was like, "Well, no, Ed, I understand, like, y'all didn't say that. I said it in jest, but that's why I put the press release up." Ed's response to me is like, "Mike, like, you have a voice in the MMA community. No one's gonna read the press release." I was like, "Well, that's not my fault or my problem that people don't want to read, as opposed to just listening to me say some jest." But again, for me, my ideology is these are white nationalists. So yes, that was a Klan rally in my book. Anyways, from Pat's perspective, um, because I put out this post or whatever, that LFA was sort of inclined to really to separate from Pat, but also like there are all of these other media outlets far bigger than mine who covered this dude going to the January 6th insurrection. But out of all the people who wrote their stories and articles, he blames me. So out of nowhere, so he takes down the original video saying I fired, and he puts up another video saying, oh, no, he says a so-called journalist wrote a story that got me fired. Again, that didn't happen. I posted the story after you had said that you got fired, but you never got fired initially. So he basically puts the blame on me that he's the reason that he was no longer commentating for LFA. On the post, people's like, "Yo, y'all should fight," and I kind of like blew it. Like I was like, "Dude, I'm not fighting Pat Miletich." Like at the time, I think he was like 55, and so I was like, "This is what like that doesn't do anything for anybody." And so he starts sending me text messages at like midnight, 1 in the morning. And hindsight, clearly the dude was drunk, given he had, I think this is his third DUI he just got within the past 4 years. And so anyway, he's sending me these text messages later, and he's telling me, he's like, I'm a fascist, Marxist, communist. I'm like, Pat, you have no idea what any of those words mean. Go to sleep. And he's like, no, like, you're gonna pay for what you did to my family and my legacy. And he says, I'm gonna knock you out in 5 minutes or 3 minutes and all these things. And I'm like, dude, cool, go to sleep. And then he's like, yo, you're gonna die for some other. He just goes on this rant, but clearly he's drunk, right? And again, I keep blowing him off. And then fast forward to like, I think January of this year, um, I get actual promoters who reach out and it's like, yo, Pat really wants to fight you, and we want to put it on these cards out here. Like, would you be down? And I was like, wait, what? Initially, they were trying to do it. It was like this weekend in March where they had like a 3-day event out in Iowa from Cage Aggression. Apparently, they have two big events a year. They have one in March and then one in October. But they were trying to do one in March, and this was technically I was still under contract with the UFC. Given my last fight, I had an injury where I had to get surgery, and all of that. So they're reaching out to me like, "Yo, let's do this in March." Like this is like 2 months away. I'm still recovering from face surgery, and I'm just like, dude, like I got better shit to do, right? So I kind of just left it at that, and they're pretty persistent about it. Like Pat reached out to me. I think it says something about fighting. He has like a podcast co-host that reached out to me about fighting, and then like I said, the promoters reached out, and then I had a conversation with them. They're trying to get the backstory of everything. I essentially tell them just what I told you, and then it was like, "Nah, we're gonna try to make this happen." So a few months go by, didn't hear anything. I reached out to them in May. And said, "Oh, we still working on it." And then in June, I get an email. It's like, "Hey, we ready to go with numbers and everything." And I was like, "All right, cool." And then they give me the numbers, and I was like, "Wait, y'all gonna pay me this much money to go fight Pat Miletich?" And I'm a prize fighter. So for me, and I'm a prize fighter. I like to do cool shit, given like the CM Punk thing and all these other areas. And so it was really an opportunity for me that I couldn't pass up, given the context of what the fight means to everybody.
Gotcha. And obviously, Pat, former UFC champion, Hall of Famer. It's a huge name in the game. I just want to ask you this, Mike. You talked about obviously, what you saw from Pat and who he was around. I saw in like a hype video that I believe Cage Aggression did. You said that he was manipulative. You say he plays the victim, and you said he was racist. Has he ever said anything racist to you, or is it just who he's
Oh,
been around?
it's not like necessarily the racism directed toward me, but he's sent me like in the DMs like these crazy memes and stuff like that, and people don't get it. Like people feel that if it's not like malicious or overt racism, then it's cool. Like if you make a joke or something like that, then oh, I'm not racist. Like again, there's levels to racism, and there's nuance in this spectrum, and people feel like, first of all, no one sees himself as the bad guy, and no one feels himself as being wrong and things like that, right? But 100% like this dude is saying again, it's fighting. If it's funny, it's funny. Regard like again, there's going to be racist humor that is actually funny, right? But in the context, to your point is asking me, has he been racist? Like he's definitely said like racist jokes and memes to me, Has he been like overtly racist out, prior to this? No. But all the language and rhetoric that he uses now and currently is very anti-black and is very much racism, despite his opinion on it. For me, I'm not just a fighter, right? Like I'm an educated man, who specializes in social sciences. I study people, I study individuals. I understand what this is, right? Because again, not only am I a black man in this country, I've actually studied it from an educational and a scholar perspective, right? So my knowledge on this subject is far superior than Pat Miletich, who, hey, I got black friends,
Mhm.
right? And so for me, I don't mind having the conversation, the discourse, if you come at it from a good faith perspective. But when you come at me like, oh, I'm not racist, and then you say some racist shit, like you just like, wait, you just disprove your point, right? You're not trying to have a genuine conversation with me. So to your point, has he been like overtly racist to me? Like, no, outside of like current language. But even prior years ago, he's definitely done like racist things and said like he even like out of dinner, he will say some things. We all like, wait, like what was that? you know? So, like I said, it is what it is.
Okay. We're going to circle back to Pat and just this specific matchup here in a bit. But first, I want to run through a couple other topics that I wanted to talk to you about. You mentioned having surgery. Obviously, that has to come from your last fight, October 2022 in the UFC. That was a knee to the face from Pete Rodriguez. That's a brutal knockout, man. I can't imagine what it was like to go through all of that. How bad was that? How much did that hurt? And what were the after effects like?
It was bad from the worst part for me is like, look, I understand what fighting is, right, dude? And people get this thing is like, yo, because I go out here and I fight and I like didn't finish CM Punk and all these things. Like I can't fight, right? I can fight. I choose to fight at the levels that I choose to fight at. And in fighting, particularly fighting at the highest level in the UFC, like it's a game of inches. And I got careless in the fight. To me, I 100% feel I could easily beat Pete Rodriguez, but I just made an error in that fight, and he was able to capitalize in a vicious manner. If I didn't make the error, the fight doesn't play out that way. But again, that was just me, and I got careless in a high level sporting event. So it was more so. It wasn't really the knockout that affected me more than it was. The knockout came when me really just I zigged when I should have zagged, and he got me. Again, this is fighting. It's fighting at the highest level, and shit happens.
Mm.
Again, people. It's crazy how you have these individuals who come out and they look at whether it's my UFC experience. Again, my main background is whether it's boxing. I've done some kickboxing, Muay Thai, but my background is boxing. I'm 4-0 in boxing, all knockouts. In Muay Thai kickboxing, I'm 1-1 with the knockout. So that in itself, I'm 5-1 in striking combats with all knockouts. So for people to come to me like, oh, you can't fight, you just telling me you don't know shit about fighting, and you just look at like first of all, you're telling me you're a UFC fan in itself. You're not even a fight fan. You're a UFC fan, which is cool. I get these types of individuals, but you telling me you don't know fighting, and it doesn't bother me by like I tell you, it doesn't bother me by any means that these people say this to me, because at the end of the day, all these people are talking, they're running their mouths, they say they gonna come. Oh, like they got these dudes like legitimately like they be like, yo, I ain't never trained, but I saw what happened to CM Punk, and I can like fuck you up. And I just like you're delusional. Like all of this is based off of delusion, given that men inherently feel like they can fight until it's proven that they can't fight. And we're in this era now with social media where people just say the most random. First of all, people don't want to go to therapy, right? Like as opposed to going to therapy, they're like, "Yo, let me get my shit off on Twitter and in the comment section." I legitimately have people who feel they can like whoop my ass with no training, which is crazy to me. It's crazy because I have 5 bodies in other combat sports. Like it wasn't just knockouts. Like I left these dudes like face down on the canvas. Like this picture right here is from a boxing match, and this dude was laid out for minutes.
Yeah.
Like, and this dude was training. Like, what do you think I'm gonna do to you? And then when I say, yo, come to the gym, oh nah, like I ain't coming to the gym. Like, what are you talking? Talk your shit or just shut up. But people don't go to therapy and all they got is social media. So like I said, it doesn't bother me from what they're saying. But back to your point, that was the only thing about the P Rodriguez fight is that it wasn't like I was just gonna get outclassed. Even in the Dean Barry fight, like I was about to cook him before he hit me with the spinning dick kick and then gouged my eye out. Right. Um, I zigged when I should have zagged and I got burnt. And I was like, damn, it is what it is.
Well, you're going to be back soon. Again, October 14th is when you're fighting next. Tell me, as far as this camp goes, who have been your main training partners? Who do you have around you to get you ready for Pat?
Dude, this has been I've been focusing a lot on recovery. I've been consistently training for like the past 15 years, right? I don't really that's my life is at this point is fighting. So for me, whether I'm competing or not, like I'm always in the gym. Um, but I've definitely been, honing, perfecting certain skills that I wanted to implement. For me, it's all about being efficient. That's my fighting style is based off efficiency and footwork. So I've definitely been working with that. Still my same training partners over at Mainstream. We have a plethora of guys who come in and out the gym. I've been able to, work a little bit with Yves Edwards over at Heritage Muay Thai. He's welcomed me over there. And shout out to my guy Elias Cepeda. He's out of Chicago, who'll be cornering me for this fight. Um, we've had some. He's more of a jiu-jitsu guy, but he's definitely he's in the political spectrum as well as combat sports. So he's been helping me out a little bit when we get together. But it's the same guys, man. The guys over at Main Street, and then any of the gyms out here in the Houston area that I get to cross train with. I haven't been doing much traveling, just given what I'm getting. I'm starting to separate myself from the combat sports world a little bit. So just the main guys at the home gym.
Okay, very good. I got to ask you about Jake Shields, man. I feel like I'd be crushed if I didn't at least address this topic, right? So,
Yep.
what's the current situation with that? And is there a chance that you guys are ever going to get in there and have a sanctioned fight?
Dude, like that was a crazy thing how even like all of this started, man. Like I came in, he was saying some wild racist shit on Twitter, back in like 20, I think like 2021, and I went at him again from yo, like why are you saying this? Well, like as from a conversive standpoint, it's like yo, why are you saying this wild, racist shit on Twitter? And he's basically like let's fight, and I was like, wait, I'm trying to have a like first of all, given me, I'm not I just do this shit I fight for the shits and giggles, right? This is a former world champion. He's been on steroids and he likes to lay on people. Those are all three things I'm trying to stay away from, right? Because again, I've never get into this sport. Look, when I go back to the days of the UFC roster, right? Literally everyone in the UFC organization, their objective is to be the best, to be the world champion, all of these accolades. I'm over here doing this shit for fun. And they're like, yo, I just like fighting. I like punching people in the face. So then you have this former world champion, like, yo, let's fight. And I'm like, I don't want to fight you. Like, you're a former world champion, and I just fuck around and fighting. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So he's talking this shit. So I was like, fine. You want to fight? Here are the terms to fight. I said, we come to Houston. You can meet at the gym. It'll be a closed off setting, and we can box. Those were the terms. Again, I'm a boxer. I'm a kickboxer. What do I look like getting into a ring or a cage with a former world champion who can still compete? Now, this isn't a Pat Miletich 57-year-old. This is a juiced up Jake Shields in his early 40s, right? So for me, I was like, fine, I will fight you. Here are the terms. He agreed to the term. Fine, I'm gonna come to Houston and we gonna get it on. Fine. That flamed out. Fast forward to me being at the PI post surgery, just getting a workout in. Wasn't training for no fight or nothing. I was getting a workout in, staying at the PI. I get jumped from behind by Jake Shields, and he got like six little. They were like his little Oompa Loompas that were. They were all like 25ers and 35ers that was hanging around with him, and so they all kind of like surrounded me, and I was like, know what a gang attack looks like. I'm by myself. Let me not be here by any means, right? So I get attacked. I get pulled, jump from behind. Again, I'm recovering from face surgery. So people like, oh, like you don't know how to hip escape. And so if you watch the video he posted, which is crazy out of context, the reason I'm not trying to hip escape, because anyone who actually fights knows I have to move my hands from my face to hip escape. Mm. Why would I remove the dude is throwing crazy elbows to my forearms? Why would I move my hands from my face and I'm recovering from surgery? That makes no sense. But also, I'm like, I'm at the PI. Someone should be like doing something about this, right?
Yeah, who broke it up? Like who ultimately got in the middle and separated you guys?
Really, so it was like the actual. So how it started, my back is to the. I don't know if you are you familiar with the PI layout upstairs.
I've never been there in person, unfortunately. No.
So where I was, there's like some bags, and then the steps that you come up were behind me. So no one's upstairs. It's pretty like quiet, right? I'm just kind of hitting the bag. I'm working out with a little trainer, and you kind of know like if you know there's nobody upstairs, and all of a sudden you hear some voices, and again, we're at the PI. Curiosity gets the best of you. So, oh, who is that? So as I turn around, it's Jake Shields like just, and he's just standing there looking at me, and as I look at him like, all right, like it's Jake Shields. Like, because again, I'm not intimidated or scared of Jake Shields. But again, now I will give it to him. He said, "Oh, it's on site when I see you." Like, in terms of like a street fight, my mind goes, "Well, we're at the PI. He's not gonna jeopardize anything. Like, I should be pretty good." And so it was him and like two other people at the time. So I look at him, he gets in this feeling, oh, it's Mike Jackson, a racist, and he goes on his little white nationalist rant. I'm kind of just like trying to just be dismissive of him. It's like, dude, stop playing. Let me get back. Like, why don't you come go do what you came here to do? Then that's when like the other, I think it was like three or four other guys come up. And these are like, they're all fight again. These are fighters. So I got Jake Shields, former world champion, and then he's looked like he's on steroids because he's really angry here with he's juiced up, right? And he's probably about he says he's 185, but he was a good 200 pounds, right? And then you got these other fighters, and then it's just me recovering from surgery. Like I shouldn't be here, right? So fine, I'm trying to get. He spits on me and does all this crazy shit. And I'm like, dude, if I still off on, and I had the opportunity to still off on him, but if I still off on him, because he was trying to hit me, and I kind of like parried his punch and like, dude, stop playing or whatever. But if I still off on Jake, he's really gonna come at me. And then he got his boys, who for me, I don't know what these guys are gonna do to me, right? I'm trying to be safe. So I'm like, look, dude, like, quit fucking around or whatever. So I'm trying to get my stuff. That's when he grabs me from behind and pulls me down. And then that's when, again, I didn't know the video started until later. He's like recording and shit, or his dude, one of the guys is, but all these guys were recording me or around. And so that's when I'm kind of like, all right, guys, like, can y'all like get this dude off me? Like, what do we like? I'm not here to be in a street fight. If I would have agreed to fight you, first of all, we would have been in the cage because we were, as you watch the video, we're right next to the cage. Why would I agree to fight you outside the cage? That again, they want to play the victim. They're like, oh, you call me a Nazi, then I'm gonna jump you. Like, wait, you acting like a Nazi, essentially, right? So you mad, and it's all a branding thing to these people. Like they know the connotation of being a Nazi or white nationalist means, despite doing everything that Nazis and white nationalists do, which is wild to me. So, anyways, I'm sitting there like, yo, dudes, can we stop playing? Like, can we get this dude off of me? And literally, as I look up, they all just look at, if you've seen the videos where you got the whole, like a circle of people just looking down. As that's kind of, I'm looking up, like, what do we do? Like, why are we doing this? Like, first of all, I'm 38 years old. Jake Shields in his 40s. Like, we're not kids on a playground somewhere. We're competitive fighters in a place of business. We at the PI. So finally, like they was like, because he was really throwing elbows, like they hit me on the forearm. I was like, no, again, if I move my hands to try to hip escape this former world champion, one of those elbows will catch me in the face.
Yeah.
So I'm like, don't do it. So in my head, I'm like, dog, just somebody's gonna get this dude off of you. So finally, they was like, all right, Jake, that's enough. It was like Dewey Cooper, who was a piece of shit himself. So they finally get him up, and then even Dewey was like, dog, I know Jake. He's no Nazi. I'm like, dude, you don't have to say this to me. I get that that's your man's and all, because again, it's fighting. People are gonna like intertwine themselves, but you can shut the fuck up, Dewey Cooper. But he chose to interject, whatever. We go downstairs. Fucking Forrest Griffin comes out and he was like, Mike, I saw the video. What you want to do? So fast forward a little bit, I find out because I know that as all this is happening, I was like, there are cameras everywhere.
Mhm.
Like this doesn't make any sense of why he's doing this, right? So then I realized I'm going to eat lunch. The like head of security comes. I was like, yo, we saw both videos. I was like, wait, what both videos? He was like, well, Jake Shields posted the video too. I was like, wait, what? So that's when I see the video that everybody else saw. I was like, oh, that's some fucked up shit that he kind of bit that out of context. And then so at that point, I should have went to the police, but they were just like, we'll take there was miscommunication between myself and the PI. And it was after I left, it was like because I'm back in Houston, that happened in Vegas. It was a long process between trying to get all this figured out. It was literally like like a hey, send us this. Okay, we got to wait for that. Send us that, and it was just a long. It took months, and finally, a few months ago, the DA finally, because again, the DA saw what happened. It was like, oh, this dude's a piece of shit. So he actually gets arraigned either this week or next. By the time this video, I don't know when the videos could drop in. By the time this video drops, Jake Shears should be getting a ring. You may be the first to know this, by the way, because he's a piece of shit. And as far as competitive, like I even reached out to him because again, he accepted the terms of boxing. So I reached out to him, given all of this stuff going on with Pat Miletich. I reached out because he's still like that's a crazy thing. Like the dude is openly saying some flagrant white nationalist shit on his social media, and he just cool with it, which is why he gets mad when you call him a Nazi for saying Nazi shit. So I reached out to him, was like, look, you're a piece of shit, want to play the victim, but you agreed to fight. Here are the terms. I told him we could do like a pay-per-view stream because he wanted to do it like on his Twitter feed and essentially like make money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna let this dude make money off my name. But if he wants to make money, fine. So I made the terms. I was like, look, we can do a pay-per-view stream at a private facility here. I can set all that up. We can split the profits 60-40, 60 for the winner, 40 for the loser. That seems pretty fair given who we are. I said it will be boxing. We can do 10-ounce gloves or whatever gloves he wants to do. I said we can do prior rules. First round, 10 minutes, and every round after that, it'll be 5 minutes. And there is no limit of rounds. We're going to go until someone quits or someone gets knocked out. Because again, he agreed to fucking fight me. And he was like, ah, oh, you a pussy. I'm like, wait, you already, and I have all of the receipts for this, by the way, as well. You agreed to box. Here are the terms. You say you want to fight. Here are my terms. You want to make money. Here's your chance to make some money. Mm. And he's like, ah, you a pussy. We both MMA fighters. I was like, no, I'm not about to fight a former world champion who still essentially competes in MMA. Like, I'm not fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Obviously,
again, we know how good he is.
All he want to do is take me down and lay on me. That's all he wants to do.
I was going to say, like, we know how good he is as far as wrestling, getting people to the ground, and ground and pound like that. That's his bread and butter. So I hear you. I mean, if I was in your shoes, I would want to have it on the terms that you're saying as well. That would make it more even.
But also, he agreed to the terms already. So that's the other thing. Is like, it wasn't like he just said, he never said yes. I have receipts that he said, all right, because at first I was telling him that he was like, nah, fuck that pussy. Like, look, we gonna fight in the cage or whatever. I was like, dude, I get it. You want to fight. Here are my terms for fighting. after the shit at the PI, he's back in my DMs. All right, you want to do you want to do boxing? Fine, let's do boxing. So then fast forward to this was probably like let's say I messaged him probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago, giving him exactly what I told you. Here are the terms, and his response is like, "Nah, you a pussy. Let's fight." What did he say? UFC one rules, bare knuckle. I was like, bro, like I'm not fighting you in bare knuckle UFC rules. I said, this is how I'm fighting. But he can either take that or I'm about to see him in court. He about to be in criminal court, and then he's going to civil court. Like, I don't like these people, they don't want to take their fucking L's and they want to play the victim. Like this whole thing is just like, oh, I beat his ass because he called me out. And that's why I was like, I never called you out. I never said like I was gonna beat your ass. Like all of these things that these types of individuals create, like they create these old stories in their heads, and they live in their own little fucking fictional worlds, man. It's crazy.
One thing's for certain. I know for sure that the combat sports fans out there would love to see some sort of matchup between the two of you. Hopefully, it can happen on terms that both of you agree on down the line. We'll put a cap on the Jake Shields situation for now. I want to move to Caged Aggression 36, October 14th. Again, you're taking on Pat Miletich, an old friend of yours. He's 55 years old now, Mike. So
57 now. He's
he's
57.
57. Okay. What are we going to see in this fight? I mean, obviously, this isn't a guy that's in his physical prime. You're still 38. What are we going to see come fight night?
Dude, I'm about to put on a show. Like it's again, it's wow. You have a conversation with him, and he feels he's like 30 years old. Like he's texting me at 1 in the morning, talking about knocking me out in 5 minutes. And then he comes back like 10 minutes later, no, I'm gonna knock you out in 3 minutes. And he's like, you can't hang with this machine. And I'm like, look, I don't think you get how the human body works, particularly at a high level, right? Like the guy is 57. Clearly, like you got a DUI or OD, whatever they call it, operating while intoxicated, OWI in Iowa. The morning of the press conference, like I didn't even want to, like you know what, I didn't even want to kick him while he was down because there was a bunch of. I actually won over some. I feel from a logical perspective, I won over some of Pat Militich's friends because even if like one came out to me at the end, he was like, "Man, like I'm passing my guy, I'm a fan of his, but you really made some good points up there." And in that moment, I felt like if I would have said some, like if I'd have even brought up like the DUI shit, like people would have been upset about like his, because we're Iowa, his people, or whatever. They would have been upset about it. They would have felt I was kicking him while I was down. So I wanted to keep that press conference just about the fight, right? So you're telling me a guy who's 57 years old, who's clearly out here, his life, he's out here drinking and driving and shit. You're telling me the dude who's been through so many wars, you're telling me you're going to be able to compete with me, who again, I understand what fighting is from I look at it from a logical perspective, and my body hasn't been through the shit that his body has been through. Is he going to be strong? 100% he's going to be strong. No doubt about it. I'm going into the fight as if I'm competing with the bare minimum 38-year-old, someone who's my age, a 30-year-old Pat Miletich. But the logic in me is like, that's not what we're going to get. So for me, I'm about to dance around Pat Miletich and I'm about to bust his face wide. I don't even. So for me, if you go back to all my other fights, I love second round now. All my knockouts have been in the second round. I always call my shot too because I like to. I'm a little slow starter, and I like to kind of calculate a little bit. So all my knockouts have been second round knockouts, and I love body shots. The reason I love body shots is because like first of all, I rarely get hit with body shots in the gym, right? But I know what they feel like when you stop a person with a body shot. They're in pain. They're not gonna forget that feeling of being stopped with a body shot. You knock somebody out with a headshot, they may never forget it, right? In this instance, given what his liver has been through, I don't even want the body shot knockout. I just want to punch him in the face over and over and over again for the culture. This fight, I mean, it's more than just like fighting, right? You have to think about it from the perspective of like general society. People in the streets don't really get to fight without any consequences. And given, my history, given what I stand for, um, it is exciting for me as someone who would support like the Black Panthers and very pro Black individual. It is exciting for me to be able to essentially assault a white nationalist, someone who is a Jan 6 insurrectioner, someone who is on the side of white nationalism and the Proud Boys and all of these white nationalist organizations. That's what this is about for me. It's for the culture. I have a lot of people who have no idea. They have their livelihood has nothing to do with fighting, but they're gonna purchase this pay-per-view just so they can see me eviscerate Pat Miletich. Not only like Pat has done irreparable damage to his legacy, I feel like his what he stands for as a man. And I feel October 14th, I am going to finally close this. I'm going to bury him. And that will be the end of this Pat Miletich, whatever the fuck this shit is that he's doing. He's going out here saying, like, again, never going to take accountability for his actions. He's like, oh, yeah, I was at the Capitol fighting for my rights and shit. It's like, dude, like, you was at the coup. Stop it. He talks about, oh, I take pictures. People know me and they want to take pictures with me and all this. Yeah, like the people that you hanging around with, like these are high-ranking members in these white nationalist organizations. Yeah, they want to take pictures with you, throwing up the white power sign. He's like, oh, well, I was take pictures with all walks of people, black, brown, Asian, this, that, and the other. I was like, well, where were those pictures? You chose to post pictures of the Nazis. You have to look again. If that's your beliefs and ideology, cool. Own your shit. But you can't have these beliefs and ideologies, and then when you call it out for it, you're like, oh no, that's racist against white people. That's not a thing. Y'all gotta like these people have to stop that. So for me, like I said, this is for the culture outside of fighting. The MMA space, the MMA space is toxic as fuck. Like we got all these guys who are like Jake Show supporters and Andrew Tate supporters and all this shit. Like these people mean nothing to me. This is far beyond just an MMA fight at Caged Aggression.
So where can we buy the pay-per-view?
Cage whatever I don't know Cage Aggression's joint, but it's at their website, Cage Aggression something something. I need to find that out.
Official prediction. Is that second round TKO? Is that what you're saying?
Nah, I'm not even going for the TKO. I am going to end that. Like I'm going to like leave him slumped over, face down. Hopefully, I would like the face down finish. I could probably do something cool out of him, but if he's on his back looking up at the lights, like that's cool too. But I am like my object. Like he's not carried out on a stretcher. I didn't do my job.
Mike, I'm buying the pay-per-view, man. Can't wait to watch it. You did a great job selling it here. Again, Caged Aggression 36, October 14th. Mike Jackson meets Pat Miletich in a grudge match. Great chatting with you, man. Before we do sign off, I want to give you the floor. Anything you want to plug, anyone you want to thank, the floor is yours.
Dude, just check out the social media, man. At the Truth Jackson on Twitter. I don't know how long that shit's gonna be with Musk running shit. Of course, you can follow me on Instagram. Is at Shits and Giggles brand. Because that's what I'm here. My whole ideology, I'm here for the shits and giggles. And that's really it, man. And after that, I don't know what's up after that. Hopefully, I get to bust Jake Shill's ass for being a feckless piece of shit too. So we'll see what happens.